Welcome to the session of CCNA Content Overview. So this is our course highlight, and this is part 1. So you want to learn more about CCNA? Well, you've come to the right place. I am Sky, and I'll be your host for today. Today, we are accompanied by a panel of experts. So the first expert that we have for today is Nick Yap. Nick Yap is an experienced network instructor. He's a networking consultant and a network architect. Next, we have Steven Yao. He has more than 10 years of experience in being a networking instructor. He teaches Cisco, Microsoft, and etc. So finally, we have Bear. Bear is experienced in managing university network and infrastructure. He is currently delivering data communication and cloud computing courses. So today, we would like to ask these experts about what does this CCNA course, what's the content that they are about to teach us. So from what I've known, there'll be 6 modules. So the first module is network fundamentals, right? And the second module would be network access. The third module, IP connectivity. The fourth module, IP services. The fifth module, security fundamentals. And last but not least, the sixth module, automation and programmability. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first expert, Mr. Steven, to give us a brief walkthrough about what this module 1, network fundamentals, carry. So if you may, Mr. Steven.
Okay, thank you, Sky, for your introductions. Let me take this first module, what is being covered on our CCNA syllabus here. Okay, module number 1 is network fundamental. Okay, so this module is very important for those who join the network field. They need to understand the overall components about what constitute a network, right? Because a lot of people know what is network, but they do not know what are the components that form the network. They're going to get to know what is router, what is switch, hubs, a firewall, wireless devices like the wireless LAN controller, access point, and others as well. Okay. Besides that, they also need to understand the logical structure and also the physical structure of the network that the organizations are using today. Okay. So in addition to that, they're going to get to know the peripherals of the network, like physical ports, okay, the interface type, okay, what are all these, and the cabling types used in local area network as well as the wide area network WAN, okay. Now, besides that, the module also covers how the traffic flow, how the data being transported using these 2 common protocol, the TCP and UDP. So in this module, they get to know what type of traffic will be transported by using TCP and what are the traffic is being carried by UDP protocol and the common application usage of these 2 transport protocol. Okay, and the last part of this module will be covering the TCP/IP protocol, the IP addresses, which is very well known, but a lot of time people do not get very clear about the details on the address. Okay, so nobody is very understanding nowadays. Okay, even though we use the IP addresses every day, right? For example, IP addresses, do they know that they have classes as well, right? Class A, B, C, D, E, and what are the classes? Why there is a class A and B and C and all this, right? And also how to use the IP addresses in their planning. Okay, it's just not just plug from the sky and then apply it to the network. They have to know the size of the network, okay, how many addresses they need. Okay, so in this module, the participants get to know and how to plan it via the hands-on practice. Okay, the IP address calculation practice. Okay, so this is the overall module covered in network fundamentals. Yeah, my colleague will continue this part about the network fundamentals. Let my colleague here, Bear, to give some overview about this network 1.0.
Thank you, Steven. So besides just now what Steven said, IPv4, actually nowadays we also are using the IPv6. Okay, so you might wonder why we need IPv6 when the most commonly used IP is IPv4. So that's why in this CCNA we will go into the weaknesses of IPv4, and then what other improvement have we made in the IPv6. Of course, we also will learn how can we implement IPv6 addresses in today's network. So after that, we will look at just the Ethernet switching. Okay, Ethernet switching, which is the most basic concept in network nowadays. Okay, so everyone must know what is Ethernet switching. So basically, in this topic, we'll cover about the how a switch, let's say how a switch forward the data, okay, based on its MAC address table. Okay, how a switch learn the MAC address of the PC, and how the other PC they learn the MAC address of another PC, so they can communicate, okay, within the same network. So after that, we also will look at the WLAN principle. So you can say that it's actually the Wi-Fi. Okay, so everyone should know Wi-Fi, right? So in Wi-Fi, so there are the two numbers we are usually see, which is 2.4 and also 5. So actually, this is the radio frequency used by Wi-Fi. So actually, there are more in-depth knowledge in this, which is the channels in this two frequency band. Okay, and also there are also some of the encryption technology. Okay, we will cover, okay, on how we can secure the Wi-Fi network. Okay, so and then for the last topic in the module number 1, we also cover the virtualization. Okay, so this will be about the hypervisor, physical machine, gas machine, gas OS. Okay, of course, and also we cover what is the advantages of implementing virtualization in IP network, such as maybe we have virtual switch, virtual router, virtual firewall, okay, virtual network devices. How this can be used? What is the advantages these compared with the physical network devices? Okay, so that's all for this module number 1.
All right. So before we continue, I have a question. So according to what you guys just said, I got a feeling that we are going to have the opportunity to have some hands-on configuration. Am I right?
Yes. There are hands-on exercise on the fundamental on, like, for example, IP addressing, spanning, all this.
All right. That sounds great. So if this is module 1, so what can we look forward to in module 2? So can Nick please explain what module 2 network access is all about?
Yeah, sure. So for module number 2, for the cover on the network access. All right. So for the network access, we need to grab the ideas of how we are going to learn about into the MAC address layers. So on the module number 1, we learn about all the fundamentals on the OSI, on the TCP/IP, as well as we learn about how the Ethernet switching. So how the MAC address will be switched within the switches. Okay. So in this case, we also need to have considered how we're going to divide the user into different groups. So that is where we are going to cover by using the VLAN. So VLAN will stand for the virtual local area network. So we're going to use one physical environment, a physical local area network, to divide to multiple virtual local area network. So that's how we're going to do some grouping. Okay, whichever in the group, they will just stay in the group. So they will not able to talk between the group. That is the functionalities by using the VLAN. So also we also cover on the Cisco Discovery Protocol and also LLDP. So these are the protocol for us to discover who will be the connected between the devices. Okay, so who will be your neighbors by using the CDP protocol, or the standard protocol is called LLDP. Okay, link layer discovery protocols. So we can be easily figure out who will be connected among into your local area network. But definitely those device must be supported either LLDP or CDP. So they will also have a hands-on practice on this CDP and LLDP to perform the discovery of your local area network. And the next one is on the either channels. So either channel over here, they specific say that it's a LACP. But first of all, we need to know why we need to using these either channels. Okay, so either channel actually is a protocol for us to how we're going to bundle multiple physical link to be in one logical to improve the bandwidth utilization as well as to improve the reliabilities, the link reliabilities within the switching network. So between the two switches, that is what we need. Okay, and for the last one is on the spanning tree protocols. As we know that into the MAC address network, MAC address environment, or you'll be just sending as a broadcast or unicast, as well as a multicast actually. So in this case, when the switches do not know how to forward the traffic or the data, they will just broadcasting. Okay, so in this case, we might have a loop into the layer 2 environment because they will know how to handling the broadcast. So that's why using the spanning tree protocols, they will go into doing the prevention into your layer 2 looping between the switches. All right, so that will be about the topic we cover on the network access on the wired environment. So my colleague Stephen, you're going to go through more in depth into the wireless part. Stephen, please.
Okay, thank you, Nick, for your first part. Now, the second part is talking about the wireless part of the network. Okay, so we know that nowadays wireless become the de facto standard for the working culture, right? Everybody have the laptop to access, and but everyone also almost have the functional hand smartphone to do work also, right? All these depend on Wi-Fi connections to access the network. Okay, now most of the people will have the brief idea or maybe a misconception that Wi-Fi is very simple to set up. Just buy a 3-in-1 router, Wi-Fi router, plug, and then it's replay role. This is home network, okay? But in enterprise, the deployment of Wi-Fi network is not as simple as that, okay? So in this module, Cisco has the Wi-Fi network architecture deployment, okay, which is they have two models, okay, centralized and decentralized, okay? So in a decentralized mode of deployment, so it is just like the very similar like the home-based network where every AP is configured manually. Okay, and this is considered olden days of deployment. With today's more Wi-Fi deployment in a bigger scale, so the Wi-Fi deployment model architecture has changed or transformed into more advanced using this centralized mode. Okay, in centralized mode, there will be something called like a server, but it's not server, it's called a wireless LAN controller. It functions as a server that controls the AP, the access point. So these access points are lightweights, not like the decentralized mode. The AP are full-blown AP. However, this lightweight AP is equivalent powerful as those standalone AP, okay? Whereby the configurations of the wireless network is controlled by the dedicated wireless LAN controller, okay? So this is the component you're going to learn in this wireless network structure, okay? So beside that, the participants on this module will be exposed to understanding, okay, what are the network components in building up the Wi-Fi network, okay? So a lot of time people thought, oh, there's only a controller and an AP, that's it. No, the actual fact is that you still depend on the existing infrastructure of the network, like router, switch, with the port that can provide the electricity power to the AP, okay? And most importantly, on the user end, the infrastructure should provide automatic IP addresses to the user, okay? So imagine every time when you connect to Wi-Fi, do we ask someone for the information about what IP address to use to connect this Wi-Fi? No, right? So there will be a server providing this IP address, we known as a TCP server, okay? And in between the controller, right, in the so-called centralized mode of deployment, there's a dedicated wireless LAN controller communicate to this lightweight access point, and how they talk and how they share this configuration. So this configuration is connected, right, via this data link layer protocol called CAPWAP. So CAPWAP is another critical protocol that combine these two devices together. Okay, and the last part of this, you're going to learn about how to set up the Wi-Fi network, the SSID. I think most of us heard about this word SSID. That's a wireless LAN network, and protect the network with the security key, right? WPA security key. And this module will also cover some simple troubleshooting procedure on maintaining and operating this Cisco Wi-Fi network. Okay, so these are the content we're going to cover in the wireless part of the network access module.
All right, Stephen. So as you say, right, SSID is something, yes, I've heard of it. I think we have heard of it. But for some terms like CAPWAP and this WLAN is something that we've heard of. But for CAPWAP and this decentralized, centralized, this is something that's new to us. So it's actually a good opportunity for us to learn how this is covered in the course. So let's continue with the highlights. So for module 3.0, IP connectivity. So Nick, would you explain to us how this works?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Guy. So for the module number 3, you cover on the IP connectivities. Okay, so the module 1 and 2, you give you the ideas on the TCP/IP, OSI, and on the module number 2, you give you the idea about on the MAC address layers. So on the layer module number 3, you give you about on the IP layers. Okay, on the IP addresses. So just now you learn about the IP addresses on the IPv4, IPv6. And now we look into how the data with the IP address, how they're going to be exchanged, the IP address between the devices, and to know how they're going to be forwarded. Okay, so by using IP routing forwarding, they're only based on unicast. Okay, they're only based on unicast forwarding. They do not have any broadcast forwarding. So that's why over here we go into the basic concept of how the IP is being routed between the routers. All right. And for this IP routing, most of the case we're going to use it into the wide area network, okay, into the WAN. Okay, into local area network, most of the time it be just purely as a layer 2. So when we talk about the IP, we'll always focus more into the layer 3, into the wide area network. So for the IP routing basic, they give you the ideas how the packet will be forward, as also how they exchange the route between the routers. So over here, they will have 2 ways you're going to be explained into this module. One will be on the static routing, and the other one is on the OSPF. So for the static routing, it's more to manually to define where is your next hop or where is your destination. Okay, and for the OSPF, it's more into the dynamic forwarding. Okay, so dynamically enable OSPF, they're going to able to exchange dynamically between the routers to get the route updates normally. Yeah, that will be on the open shortest path first as a OSPF. Okay, and last will be on the HSRP. So for the hot standby redundancy protocol. So when we talk about the WAN connection earlier on, okay, by using WAN connection, let's say you have only one single gateway, that you might have a single point of failures. When the gateway go down, you are not able to access into your wide area network already. So that's why for this protocol, it will give you the ideas how we can using this protocol to provide the gateway redundancy. So to provide a hot and standby devices for you to access into your wide area network. All right. So for this IP connectivity, we will have a certain hands-on going through as well, like how we define the static routing, how we configure OSPF, as well as the HSRP. All right.
I see. I find this actually useful because internet is so important right now. So it may help us during our daily life, you know. So yeah, looking at the time, right? I think we'll stop here and have a break, and we'll come back covering the other 3 modules in part 2 of our video. So stay tuned.
Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel.